Good morning, class. Today we'll be looking at steps to take before writing an essay, specifically on letter writing. So we'll be focusing on the aspects of letter writing. As we know, whether writing a letter, a story, an essay, all forms of continuous writing have their different rules as they are structured differently. So this morning we'll be concentrating on letter writing and specifically on the informal letter. As we all know, it's one of the forms of continuous writing that constantly surfaces the SSC English questions every year, be it WAEC or NECO, both internal and external. So I urge you to take this serious as it will help us in the forthcoming exams. All right. So at the end of this class, I would expect us to attempt a question and ensure the response you'll be turning in as a feedback will be typed and sent on the app. The typing would help me to view your work easily, as the pictures may be poor for me to be able to download and read extensively what you've written. So after this class, I expect you to swing into typing. The typing will also help you to fish out the places you need to put punctuation marks, as they are vital elements that helps us to gain more marks in continuous writing. So in any question of the informal letter, and in most cases, some of these steps here would go a long way in helping us to write richly and proficiently any form of essay. Now, you have a question in front of you, and the question says, write a letter to your uncle who is living in abroad, seeking for his assistance for you to be able to register your WAEC, as your parents were not able or are not able to foot the bill. So what matters is you've read the question. For you to be able to do justice to that question, you have to understand, comprehend the question first. So number one says understand the task. It is very important. Understanding what you are asked to do is already halfway into solving the question. You may be a good writer, but if you do not understand what you are told, you won't know what to do. You can be a very respectful child, a very loving child. You want to be able to assist. You love to assist people. Now, if you meet a woman on the road and she probably wants to ask for your help, and you are willing to help. Now she is speaking Igbo language and you speak only English and understand Yoruba. So she is speaking in Igbo language, asking you for an address, and that address happens to be in front of your house, and you are even going home, you want to help. But she is speaking Igbo language, you don't understand Igbo language, there is no way you can help. So the same case is applicable here. You have to understand the task before even thinking of writing it. It is when you understand what you have to do that you can swing into action successfully. So first, you have to understand the task. Number two, you identify with the situation. This is one vital technique every student who wants to write well must employ. It is not a situation for you to feel like, okay, I am not in this situation, I don't want to write this and all. No. You must be able to put yourself in that situation. There is a saying that goes this way: the best writers are people who have stories to tell. The best writers are people who have experienced a lot. If you look at novels, books, people who write motivational statements, those who tend to speak to people about relationship, check it properly. They too are going through some kind of a deep relationship trauma and all that. And just like the case is in literature we have the strong belief, and it is so, that every writer writes about his environment or her environment. Every writing of the writer represents where the writer is coming from. So if you see a black man writing about racism, he probably must have lived in the era where whites came to Africa. Must have lived within the period where he lived or she lived abroad and experienced racism. If you see the writers such as Chinua Achebe those days, he wrote things about colonialism and how the whites were suppressing the blacks, because those were the times where he lived and experienced such things. Very soon in this era, you will see writers who write about the effects of coronavirus, because this is the era where we are, so they can tell you about it. Things we experience, we write. Now, as a matter of fact, the person that will tell you a better story of coronavirus is one who has lost a dear one as a result of coronavirus, or one who was infected, went for quarantine, was treated, and luckily was discharged as one who has survived the virus. So such people understand the language of social distancing. Now, if you have not been infected and you are told to distance yourself from people, you understand that yes, really, this thing is real, and then you are trying to distance yourself from people. Sometimes you feel like, no, or why should I be afraid of people? God will help us, do I forget that thing. But let me tell you something. If you are tested positive, you went for treatment, you spent that 14 days, 3 weeks, or God knows how long, and then finally you survive. When you come back, you will not only distance your friends, you will distance your brother, sister, and even family members, because you have a first-hand information. So, you need to put yourself in the situation of the task ahead before you. So if the question says you have a sister abroad who is married to a notorious criminal in Nigeria, advise her, write a letter to her advising her to quit the marriage. And you begin to feel like, no, God forbid, my sister cannot marry a criminal. No. You have to put yourself in that situation. As a matter of fact, another question, maybe you're writing a story and it says, write about the day you will never forget. And for you, you've had a fun-filled life. You can't even imagine, is there any day I had that I will never forget? No. Now, what you need to do is put yourself in a situation. Think of that thing that could happen to you that will give you so much pain that you will not want to forget. Put yourself in such a situation. Imagine it. Put yourself in that light, assuming it is happening to you already. The pains you feel, the things you see from that imagination will help you to write well. That is why it is called creative writing. So it is out of your creativity Even some cases where you say, I write a letter to your uncle abroad or write a letter to your father, and then possibly one's father is late. That doesn't mean you won't write the letter. You will have to write it. All you need is put yourself in that situation and then you write well. Number 3, think and write an outline. This is the next thing you want to do. You've put yourself in the situation. You can now see things clearly. All you need now to do is to think, what are the things I need to write in this story? Or what are the things I need to write in line with what the question requires of me? Now, you want to think of those things. The question probably says, okay, write a letter to your father asking him for money urgently to fix certain things in school. Now you have to think of what are those things I need to fix in school. What will make those things very urgent? So you have to be very careful to think of these things. So as you are thinking of them, the ideas are coming, you'll be writing them down. Write the outline. Remember, outline are those points that you will develop in your body of letter or essay. So you write those points down. So the next thing you want to do now is to go back to the points if you are done writing them. Now remember that you need to arrange your outline. In number 3 step, you thought of these ideas. So as the thoughts were coming, you were putting them down as they were coming. So it's possible that these ideas did not come in a logical order. So at stage 4, you want to look at those outlines again and rearrange them, bringing the first point first, what you think should come first, the one that should come second, the one that should come third. Okay? Now, having done that, you could even see that there are points that you probably need to expunge. You don't necessarily need them, because in thinking you could have written about 7. So you might want to remove some. You might even want to merge 2 in 1, so long as they are closely related, so long as they have the same idea, so that you don't overwork your paper with so much paragraphs, writing things that may not necessarily be separated. Okay? And make sure you don't merge 2 different ideas in a paragraph. That is very important as well. Now you may want to wonder, do I need to be writing outline, write all these things, arrange before I write letter? Yes, for the practice, it is very, very important. So long as you keep practicing, writing your outline, gradually it becomes part of you, so much that you may not necessarily want to write. Okay? There are maybe fashion designers who will always measure you. You want to go and sew a particular cloth. The tailor has to take your measurement. Probably you go the second day, he takes your measurement. Before you know, he already has your measurement off and he knows your size. So when you go there, you know, he is used to it. So those are the things you need to know. So practice. It is important for you to practice in this way. Also, it also helps you to see your points by the side. When you are writing, those points guide you, so that you don't overstress a particular point over the other, so that you don't get carried away. It's like going to the market with your list of items. So those list of items guide you to buy the exact thing you want and not overspend your money. Otherwise, if you don't go with list, probably you visit the shop, right? You have 10,000 naira in your pocket. Probably you just went to buy 2 things that would have cost you 2,500. If you don't use your list, you could just see some certain things that you didn't care for. You start buying things, and then because the money is there, you just spend it. But if you write your list and probably feel, let me just pick 2,500 and go to the market. That is what I want, so that I don't buy other things I didn't plan for. Okay? So that is how it is in writing. You definitely need to use these outlines in practice. Now, looking at writing. Now you've done all that before writing. Now in writing, these are the steps you have to follow as well. Number 1, you think of the address and its format. Remember we said earlier that we're looking at an informal letter. So you have to think of the address and its format. What address are you using? Are you using your school address? Probably you're writing from the school or you're writing from home. Think of it. What is the format of your address? First, you have to write the name of the location where you're writing from. the street where that place is located, the area if possible, and then the town, maybe city, state, and all that. Probably you're writing from the school. The school is the place, Romix International School. You're writing from where is Romix located. The next line tells you where it is located. Probably off at garage at Aseko. The next line tells you where that is located as well. Probably in Lorin. And then the next line tells you it's Kwara State. Now, when your letter is moving outside of Kwara State, that is when you want to talk about Nigeria. Maybe it's moving out of Nigeria, you can now add Nigeria. If it is even within Ilorin, you might even stop at Ilorin without even adding Kwara State. But then, make sure you follow them orderly. Now, the next thing is your date, the date and its format. Ensure you write your date full. Okay? You want to write 20th, 20, then the TH stands on the same line with the 2 and 0, not on top. Okay? 20th April. You spell April correctly, capital letter A, and then comma, then the year. Note that the date is different from the address. So if you are writing the slant form of the address, your date should not slant with it. Your date should start on a separate line. Advisably, you can even give one line space between the address and the date. The next is the salutation. You're writing an informal letter. Dear sir, dear daddy, dear mommy, okay, my lovely uncle, my lovely daddy, whichever one that suits you. It also has a punctuation mark. Now you look at the number 4, the compliment stroke introduction. In other essay writings or story, we'll start with introduction. Now, for informal letter, because you are familiar with the person, you want to make compliments. Compliments are greetings, kind of making inquiry to show how close you are, or probably how you missed the person. You want to do some greetings and all that. So that first paragraph takes the greeting and the purpose of writing. That is why we have it as compliments, cum, introduction. For example, I want to say, good morning, daddy. Oh, sorry, I want to say, good day, daddy. Compliments of the season. I've been in school. I miss you guys at home. I hope work is good and my siblings are all right. Daddy, please extend my greetings to mom. Well, however, my purpose of writing this is to ask for your assistance as my provisions are already running dry and I need some of them to keep myself moving. Okay, that is a way of introducing. Another person could maybe be writing to her mom. Compliments of the season, ma. I miss you, mommy, very well, and I hope daddy is doing well. And for my sister Angela, I hope her leg is healing as well. I'm just writing to check up on you guys and see how you're doing. Now, that is another introduction. In case you're just writing to say hi, then you can go into the body and begin to ask some different things. Now, remember I said something like, how is my sister Angela and her legs? Hope she's healing. Now, she may not even be ill, but you're trying to make some things real to catch the attention of your examiner, because it's all about them. Get them interested in what you're writing, and then they will interest you with their scores as well. Now, the main body, which is the next thing here, this is the place where you want to go back to those outlines and check what is the first thing on your outline. You construct that first thing on your outline into a sentence. Once you construct that first outline of yours into a sentence, you can now use some other sentences to back that first one up. Okay? For instance, in the outline, maybe your question is to ask for school fees from your uncle, as your parents were not able to pay the fees as a result of one thing or the other. Now, your first thing you have in outline is that you want to tell them how urgent it is. Okay? The urgency of my school fees. That is your first thing on the outline. And then you want to construct it in a sentence. You now say something like, I want to inform you that I really need to pay my school fees urgently and want you to be of assistance to me. Maybe that is the way you've written it. Another person could feel like saying, Sir, I really need to pay my school fees before the end of the week, and my parents are not in the right position to help me. That is another way. You have stated how urgent because before the end of the week. Now, you need to now write other sentences to attach to that to explain how urgent the situation is. That is what makes up your paragraph. So paragraphs are not a big deal. All you need to do is you have your outline. Once you want to write, think of how to construct that outline into a sentence. Then use other 3, 4, 5 sentences to back it up. And you have a full-fledged paragraph already. That is what you do with the other outlines until you exhaust them. Ensure that each of these outlines are developed in different paragraphs. Now, when you've done all that, you must have a conclusion. That one is not part of your outlines. It is your feeling, a kind of conclusion, what you feel or what you expect. It depends on what you've written. You have written asking for assistance to pay school fees. Conclusion here is your expectations. Okay, conclusion could be, I hope to hear from you, sir, and I know, or from like, I know times are really hard, but you are the only one person I can turn to right now. I hope that you consider my request. That is a way of concluding. Now, conclusion is not another place for you to still ask for assistance. You've done all the asking. In case that is what the letter wants you to do, ask for assistance from your uncle. You've done all the assistance asking in your body of the letter. The conclusion is for you to wrap up, not for you to ask for anything again. Now, number 7, which is about the last one, is the complimentary close. This is where you want to do the yours faithfully, yours sincerely, but for informal letter, it is always yours sincerely. Always yours sincerely. You put a comma, and then the next thing is on the next line, which is your first name. Surname is not allowed. Your first name. Okay, your first name is what you put, no signing. And that will be all for this part of the work. Now, you also need to note that punctuations and mechanical accuracy are very important. That is also the reason why you need to type. I advise you on your own, you keep doing all these write-ups in typing. You have a system with you, you do that. The system will help you to underline some places. And when you see underlined work, whether red or blue or green, you right-click and find out what is the situation, what is the problem there. Sometimes, or many a times, you have these options of what you're supposed to put. So don't just click on the right one and move on. Check properly, find out why. See where the correction is so that it helps you to put your punctuation. And then after writing, okay, you read through. When you notice those places you have pauses, okay, when you have pauses, you try to know that for those pauses there are punctuation marks that need to be fixed. So ensure you do that as often as possible. It will help you to improve your writing. Now, these steps are steps we already know. I'm just trying to remind you so that when you're writing, you're able to write well. Now, having done that, this is a question I want us to digest. Okay? Read through it carefully and use the explanation we have looked at earlier on to attempt this question. And then you are advised to spend about 30 minutes on this. So we have just one question here, and everybody should attempt this question. Okay? You are about to sit for your SSC in less than 6 months, and from the look of things, your parents are financially handicapped and cannot foot the bill. Write a letter to your wealthy uncle who lives in Lagos, explaining the situation at hand and why his assistance is urgently needed. you need to understand this question. Understand the fact that your parents, you want to write in 6 months. Your parents cannot pay this bill, no matter what they want to do in 6 months. So what it means is your parents are poor in the context of this writing. I know our parents are not poor, okay? But then you must put yourself in this situation. You must see yourself in this situation for the purpose of this writing. For the time being, you are allowed to use 30 minutes. So for that 30 minutes, put yourself in the position of a student whose parents cannot pay his or her school fees, even though they still have 6 months. So you must understand the level of poverty and the state at which a particular parent can be for them not to be able to pay certain amounts of money even in 6 months' time. All right. So you have to put yourself in that position, and then you have an uncle who lives in Lagos. So that uncle of yours is very rich. So that's your hope. So put yourself in that situation for you to be able to write this. Okay? Don't be carried away by the fact that he lives in Lagos, so that you don't start writing an address for someone in Lagos. Your uncle does not require you to write his address. So it's only your address that is required. So think of this, put yourself in the situation, and then I expect you guys to do justice to the write-up. Please, when you're done, type and forward to the web. In case you're having problem with that, please ensure you forward also. Double send. You send to the page. Also, forward one to my personal WhatsApp image. It will help me to confirm your work, please. All right. Have a nice time working on this question. I'll be waiting for your reply as soon as possible.